It's Saturday with the man who knows. We had a few technical glitches earlier, and I think it was just the internet, so I apologize for that. I'm going to have to just re-record this, and I'm actually pre-recording it. This is a little experiment for me on YouTube. I've never done it any way other than live. And what I found, because this is the third time I've ever done it, is I can't do anything unless it's live. I always end up having some reason to stop and start again. This is the third time that I've re-recorded this on my camera, but here we go. We're gonna do it again and see if it works. So how do I start this off? Just a little bit over a month ago, I started adding daily content. And now we're up to over 500 subscribers. That's really quite awesome, right? That's actually, we're halfway to my monetization goal, but still an uphill climb, right? So long as you're with me for this ride though, we are just gonna continue to take the plunge, taking the plunge into the depths of the mysterious, and we're gonna just love the fact that it's not about the usual stuff that we think about. It's about things that are on the outside, things are on in the beyond, in the upside down. So I'm excited to continue this journey with you. Thank you very much. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so and ring the bell so that you'll get notifications of every time I do a show. This channel is about just experiencing and opening your mind to the strangest, to the weirdest, to sometimes even the most profound and inspired thoughts, but in a real way. These are my real life stories of the impossible. I'm Alain Nu. I'm the man who knows. Today we're going to discuss my 5 favorite Mandela effects. Have you ever heard of what a Mandela effect is? How many of you have ever experienced it yourself? Because I have. I'm going to tell you my 5 favorites before I get to the one that I'm actually talking about. But this is going to be a fun story, so I hope you stick around. First of all, let's talk about my 5 favorite Mandela effects. Those of you who are unfamiliar, this is a term coined by paranormal researcher Fiona Broome, who used it right after Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I think that was earlier in this century, but people all thought that he had died in the 1980s. And so when he was released from prison, everybody was just like, wait, what happened? I thought that he was dead. And so that's really funny because that actually happened to me in high school. A friend of mine, Manolo, actually thought that I had died and was really surprised to see me return. And so, but the fact is that in Nelson Mandela's case, it was lots of people. They thought that he had died, and a lot of people actually started wondering whether or not that false memory was not just a false memory. It was perhaps reality had shifted. Perhaps something had happened that made everything change. And the truth is that when you think about it, right, 20th century, totally different from the 21st century. Totally different. Things that happened in the 20th century that I didn't think could ever happen started happening in the 21st century. I was like, no, what the heck? People are beheading people now? That was weird. And so all I can say is and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Weird stuff started happening in the 21st century that I would have never expected. World Trade Center disappeared. All kinds of strange stuff took place. So I'm just saying that people have maybe a little bit of a reason to suspect that reality had shifted between the 20th and the 21st century, right? They all thought that Y2K was going to change everything. Nope. But instead, everything changed. Reality had shifted. But who knows? Maybe that's just me creating some kind of meaning on this, right? But let's go into my 5 favorite Mandela effects. The first would be the story of Nelson Mandela and how everybody thought that he, was dead, but then he emerged from prison and suddenly he was alive. He now has died again. If he comes back, it's really going to be a Mandela effect, wouldn't it? But the fact is that he did die in 2013, December of 2013, but this was after the concept of the Mandela effect started growing. The Berenstain Bears, for instance. Berenstain Bears, you know that cartoon? I don't know how many of you watch Saturday morning television, but the Berenstain Bears, a lot of people thought the last name was spelled Baron and Stein, Berenstain. But it's actually, if you look it up on the internet, you'll find that it's actually Berenstain, Stain, Ain. Kind of weird. Maybe a false memory, perhaps a false memory, but and false memories would be different from the Mandela effect, which would be that the false memory somehow suggests a complete shift in reality. So Berenstain Bears, that's one. Jiffy peanut butter is another one. How many of you ate Jiffy peanut butter back in the day? It's not Jiffy, it's actually Jif. If you look it up, it's Jiff, there is no Y. And maybe that's a false memory, because the false memory is that maybe it's Skippy peanut butter, confusing it with Jif peanut butter, and people thinking that it's Jiffy peanut butter. So that's another explanation as to how it could work. It could just legitimately be a false memory. Luke, I am your father. It's false memory. They never say Luke. It always begins, if you watch Star Wars, it's actually, I am your father, is what he says in Return of the Jedi or whatever. But, so that's, so those are all potential false memories. But I do have some favorites. And like I said, the Nelson Mandela one is a favorite of mine just because it's the one that started it all, right? He's the OG of the Mandela effect. Then we got, then we got the Disney one, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The evil stepmother is looking at the mirror and saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And the mirror would reply, well, of course, it's you. But it wasn't the mirror that did it. It was actually the magic mirror. She would say, magic mirror on the wall. And that's what, if you looked up the script, or if you watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that is what the stepmother actually says, is not mirror, mirror on the wall, but magic mirror on the wall. So, did you grow up hearing that it was mirror, mirror on the wall? If so, perhaps reality shifted. Another one of my favorites is Fruit of the Loom underwear. Fruit of the Loom underwear is has a little logo with some fruit, a little bunch of fruit in front of a cornucopia, like one of those little basket things, right? How many of you have Fruit of the Loom underwear? Go look at it, and you might find that it actually is some fruit, but there is no cornucopia, there is no basket behind it. It's just fruit. But how many of you remember that cornucopia behind the fruit? Did they change the logo, or was there a shift in reality? Let's see. Finally, one of my favorites would be, let's see, the fourth one would be Smokey the Bear. How many of you know who says, only you can prevent forest fires? It's Smokey the Bear, right? But it's not Smokey the Bear. He doesn't have the word the in his name. It's actually Smokey Bear. And everybody calls him Smokey the Bear. Did we somehow grow up with Smokey the Bear and then something changed and now his name is Smokey Bear? Or was it a false memory? Was it a Mandela effect? Or was it just a mistake? You decide. You know, and here's one of my favorites, and this is one that I don't know if I can actually vouch for myself, but a lot of people say that they grew up believing that the Mona Lisa's smile was a lot broader than it is now. Has the Mona Lisa become less happy over time? Things are kind of weird in the 21st century. The Mona Lisa may not be as happy as she once was in the 20th century. I like that one a lot. Actually, I kind of, that one kind of weirdly creeps me out. But But those are my 5 favorites. But it actually has nothing to do with my personal Mandela effect. Is actually something that is actually totally something that I can't understand at all. I'm gonna give you a little prequel to my Mandela effect thing. So I started thinking about it. I was thinking, well, what could be a Mandela effect in my life? And one of the things that I thought to myself was, maybe that there was a commercial that I used to remember. It was a Qantas Airlines commercial. You know, that airline that takes you to Australia? Qantas Airlines used to have a commercial when I was growing up, like in the 1970s, when I was like a little kid. I remember this commercial of this koala bear eating a eucalyptus leaf. And it was compelling to a kid because it's a koala bear. And suddenly you'd hear like an airplane overhead, and the koala bear would look up and look back at the camera and go, "I hate Qantas." Well, I thought to myself, anybody who would make an ad campaign that says, "I hate the company itself," it's got to be strange, or maybe it's a Mandela effect. Maybe I just misremembered it. And so I did a little Google search on Qantas. I did a Google search on "I hate Qantas." And I wrote "I hate," and then I typed in the letter Q, and I just watched the different top searches come down. The first one was "I hate quarantine." And I'm sure you can relate. We all hate quarantine, right? Second search was "I hate quotes," which totally cracked me up. Who hates quotes? But apparently it's the number 2 search on I hate Q. I hate quotes. I love it. The third one was "I hate QuickBooks Online," and I do hate QuickBooks Online. But then it turns out that "I hate Qantas" was on there, and in fact, it was a koala bear that actually said, "I hate Qantas." So that wasn't a Mandela effect, but it was one that I thought could have been. The one that actually got me, though, was that I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm actually looking right across the street into Georgetown University right now. And that is where one of the clubs that, I used to hang out at was. It was called Posers. Great name for a club. I actually hated that club, but I would go there because everybody went there when we were kids. It was right at the bottom of M Street, right at where M Street and Key Bridge meet. And there's like a place upstairs called Posers. It was a nightclub. It was a place where people who listened to The Cure and Susie and the Banshees and, Duran Duran would go out and hang out and dance and, and pose. And that place shut down. And when it reopened, it was a cafe. And the cafe was called the Mountain Lodge Number 6, which was more kind of like a French Dadaist cafe, if you would, and this, but the cafe was a little bit more like a mountain lodge, and had like local artists and stuff, and it had poetry recitals, and different bands would play there. I had a band that actually played there at one point. I would play chess with the owner, Justin, and we and one thing that I always noticed at the Mountain Lodge, and I never knew Justin's last name, but it somehow closed. It closed down. It was like 5 years later. It closed down. But there was a sign above the counter, and the sign at the very top said, "Today's special: baked Alaskan slug pie." And it was always there from the first time I walked in to the time that it closed down. And the interesting thing about the Mountain Lodge was that it kind of brought together a whole lot of people. And a friend of mine, Jennifer, I was on the phone with the other day and asked her about it. I said, "Do you remember baked Alaskan slug pie on that chalkboard?" And she said, "Yes." So there are people who remember it. But here's the weird one. Google it. Google baked Alaskan slug pie. It does not exist. What did I put in my mouth? Baked Alaskan. It was like a savory escargot type of pie with kind of large escargot. And I asked him where he got it. He said he gets them frozen from a woman in Alaska, which is why he called it what it was. But there is no such thing as baked Alaskan slug pie. I'm a foodie. I looked it up. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as edible slugs from Alaska. There is no specialty in Alaska that involves slug pie. In fact, I've never seen slug pie on the internet. So the weirdest thing about it was that it didn't exist when I looked it up. And so, do you have any of you out there who follow me? Are you from the DC area? Do you remember the Mountain Lodge number 6? Do you remember baked Alaskan slug pie? Comment below. Talk about your own Mandela effects. I'm very, very curious. This is Real Life Stories of the Impossible. Today's show is the long show. Saturday is the time that I go long. I hope you've enjoyed the content that I've provided for all of you on YouTube. So if you have not already, please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell. Please comment and let me know what you think about any of this. If you have any personal ideas as to what you might be able to contribute, and you have a mysterious story of yourself going through some experience of your own, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. One day soon, I will be offering interviews with other people, and we might even use this Saturday to do just that. So meanwhile, stay tuned for tomorrow. We've got a little wisdom that I'm going to share for you. On Monday, I always have a little bit of magic that I can share with you. Tuesdays through Saturdays, we always talk about something strange, something profound, something weird, a little bit of ghost story, a little bit of cryptozoology, a little bit of something je ne sais quoi. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.